Hi, I'm Bob from World 5 List. Join me as I reveal 5 reasons that people believe in conspiracy theories. Number 5. It's a defense mechanism. Now, when you think about conspiracy theorists, you often think about crackpot people who are nuts, right? Well, you may think of that meme guy with the conspiracy theory board and his eyes bulging out of his head as he tries to explain his logic to the world. But the truth is, there's a lot of very sane people who actually believe in conspiracy theories, and sometimes they believe in them because it's hurtful to think in the other direction. What I mean by that is they see one thing, and it's so horrifying to them that when they hear the conspiracy theory, they just have to latch on and cling to it, because it's more comforting to think that than the truth. A great example is 9/11. Now, to this day, there are people who actually think there was something fake about the entire event, despite the news footage, the eyewitness accounts, and everything else proving otherwise. One of the more prevalent theories is about how the Twin Towers couldn't have been brought down like that from crashing planes. Well, look on YouTube and you'll see a lot of videos proving this theory. So, are all of these people who watch those videos and cling to those details nuts? Well, I don't think so. I think it's just a way of coping with a loss that they may have suffered and wondering if there's more to it than what we see. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not condemning people or saying you can't handle the truth. I'm not. I'm just pointing out one possibility as to why people believe in such things. Again, not everyone who believes in conspiracy theories is crazy, and we need to respect those people who believe in them, even when it's clear that they're wrong in one form or another. And unless you know one of these conspiracy theorists personally, you honestly don't really have the right to judge them. Number 4. People love to ask questions. But first, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. What's your favorite conspiracy theory? Let me know in the comments below. Questions drive us to seek the truth. It's how we learn. And that's why many conspiracy theories exist, because people ask questions, and it leads to more questions, and that creates a lot of conspiracy. Now, you may be thinking, that's really kind of simplifying things a bit, don't you think, Bob? Now, yeah, many conspiracies are made up on a whim, a bid for attention, but the ones that last the test of time, like the NASA moon landing, the supposed death of Elvis, 9/11, Area 51, and all the others, stand that test of time because people ask the questions that they feel need to be asked. And that's not to be insulted, that's to be praised. After all, isn't asking a question the basis of the scientific method? You begin with a question, you test your hypothesis, and you find out what the answer is. If you don't get the answer, you do a different test, or you just ask a different question. So here's a good example. For a long time, the ancient world actually believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. In fact, it was so believed that the Catholic Church would condemn anyone who felt that it wasn't, including the legendary astronomer Galileo. Galileo, however, was deemed as a heretic for his belief. But why? Well, it's because he dared to ask questions. He was a conspiracy theorist. He didn't believe that the Earth was the center of the universe, but rather one piece of a cosmic chain, one that revolved around the sun and not the other way around. He argued, had discussions, and didn't just follow blind belief. He asked questions and sadly got condemned for them, but he was right, and the church later would revoke their ruling. Now everyone knows that the Earth revolves around the sun. But yeah, not every conspiracy theory is going to have such a happy ending. The point is, we have the power to ask questions, so why not use our powers? Sure, some odd ideas and notions may happen because of it, but if we don't ask, how will we ever learn? Number 3. There's actually some science and logic behind conspiracy theories. Now bear with me, I know it sounds weird, but it's true. Some of the best conspiracy theories are ones that are actually backed up by science and logic. And when you actually hear some of the evidence, it makes you understand why people think the way they do. Here's a good example: the NASA moon landing. Now, there's a plethora of conspiracy theories that prove the moon landing was done on a set and not on the actual moon. During one of the most famous episodes of Mythbusters, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman broke down many of the conspiracy theories, and the science behind them was sound to a certain extent. One was about how there were shadows on the moon that didn't line up with a singular light source, meaning the sun. This is true on a flat surface. The sun could cast all shadows within a certain area in a certain direction. However, Mythbusters reminded conspiracy theorists that the moon has contours and imperfections, and it's not perfectly flat. Because of that, the shadows are not parallel to each other. Or how about the planting of the U.S. flag? In the Apollo 11 mission, the astronauts planted the flag in the moon and seemed to have caught breeze and moved around. The moon, however, is a vacuum, so how did it move around? It's a good question, and one that's backed up by science. However, in a vacuum, momentum can move things too, and that's what the Mythbusters proved. So, the people who had these theories weren't exactly crazy. There was actual science behind them. They just didn't know all of the science behind them. Then there's the logical one, being the death of Elvis. Why do people think that Elvis is still alive? They're clearly not afraid of believing someone is dead, because other various celebrities have died and they don't say they're walking around. Rather, when the funeral for Elvis occurred, some things really stuck out in their minds. For one, Elvis was 44 years old. He looked a whole lot different than he did in his 20s, as he should, for a man who didn't treat himself so well. Yet, when the funeral happened, many felt that he looked a whole lot younger than he should have. In fact, they said that he looked like his 20-year-old self and not the more stout 40-year-old version. Then there's the tombstone. Elvis's full name legally was Elvis Aaron Presley, but on the tombstone it read Elvis Aaron Presley, with the misspelling in Aaron. Now, it's a pretty big error to put on the name of the King's tombstone, don't you think? So as I noted earlier, most people don't just believe in conspiracy theories. They find something that makes them believe, whether it be emotional, logical, or scientific. Number 2, not every conspiracy theory sounds bogus. Now again, bear with it because I know it sounds nuts, but it's a sad truth that not every conspiracy theory sounds nuts when certain evidence is presented, which I hopefully showed with my previous entry, but sometimes it goes beyond science and logic. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, yeah, I could see that. Let's go back to the moon landing. Why does this one stick out so much as a great conspiracy theory? One that has 20% of Americans thinking that their own country lied to them about one of the greatest achievements in human history. Well, it's simple. It's because the explanation is believable. Just think about it. The year was 1969 and the Cold War was in full effect. Russia, the United States, the UK, and more are all on pins and needles, and each side is desperate to make a breakthrough that's going to outshine one or the other combatants. And space travel was the main endeavor. The Soviet Union would strike first by getting a satellite into space via Sputnik, and the US was so desperate to get a man on the moon before the Soviets. Now, this was also a time where the doomsday clock was very close to midnight, and the United States needed that victory, if for no other reason than to inspire the people and give them hope again. So, if you can't do it legitimately, then why not fake it? Get the victory while doing some cloak and dagger to make no one suspect that you did. It makes a whole lot of sense, and given the dishonorable nature of politics anyways, it's not hard to think that they had such ideas back then. Plus, as many conspiracy theorists have noted, if moon travel was the ultimate goal, why did we stop? Only 6 NASA missions took people to the moon. There were more planned, but certain things happened to prevent them, like Apollo 13. Still, why haven't we tried to go back recently? Is it because of money or no need, or maybe it's because we never went there in the first place? When you take the personal feelings and bias out of things, you can sometimes see their point of view. And before you say anything, yes, I do admit and know that we went to the moon in 1969. And number 1, truth is stranger than fiction. Now, to wrap up, I talk about our world. It's a miracle in a whole lot of ways, and many of those miracles boggle our minds to the extent where you have to wonder what else is out there or even here on our own planet. The best example of this has to be aliens. Now, there are a lot of people who believe in aliens, and many are tied to conspiracy theories. Yet there have been numerous sightings of strange craft in the air, crashed on the ground, and even in the water. Now, just forget about Area 51 for a moment. A few months before that whole incident in Roswell, a pilot was doing a routine flyby in Washington when he saw something he couldn't explain. And this was all before the aliens among us boom. So why did he lie, or why would he lie about what he saw? What's more, if there aren't aliens, why have there been so many odd sightings over the recent decades? Sure, not all of them can be tied to military craft or weather balloons or odd weather patterns, right? On this planet, we've discovered sea creatures that are over 100 feet long, bones of ancient dinosaurs that could have wiped us out, and experienced phenomena that has even scientists puzzled. We've also seen horrors and tragedies that have rocked us to our core, and miracles. We've witnessed destruction. We've only scratched the surface. The point is, sometimes it's not hard to believe these out there theories because when you look at our world and the people in our world, you realize truth can sometimes be stranger than fiction. Thanks for watching. Does this give you a new insight into any conspiracy theorists? Or perhaps you have another idea as to why people believe them? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time on World 5.